Greg Ehrenberg here from Odd Shopper. We're breaking down another baseball slate. This is Wednesday's action, game spread throughout the day. So I'm about to give out my favorite bets of the slate. So like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, leave a comment below and let me know what your favorite bet of the day is. Give yourself a chance to win some stuff, free stuff for the day. All you have to do is leave a comment. Once the bet wins, I throw those into a spreadsheet, randomize them, and pick out a winner based on any of the bets that are winners in the comment section. Yesterday, I didn't have the best betting day, and it was tough in the comment section too. I feel like we really struggled together. I had about 20 bets that were posted in the comments yesterday, and only one of them won. That was Jordan H. He had Jacob deGrom over 6.5 strikeouts, and then also Baltimore, Texas, no run first inning. So that parlay hit for Jordan, and as a result, you win one free week of our premium betting Discord. Message me on Twitter so I can get you set up with that. And I'm about to get into my best bets, but first, a quick summary of yesterday's slate. I had under 1.5 runs for the Nationals in the first 5 innings of yesterday's game. That went well. That was my favorite bet of the day. I felt confident in that one. It ended up cashing. deGrom looked great in his first start back, and you could tell pretty quickly that deGrom had his best stuff. Also, going to Jordan's bet, the one that I just gave away the free giveaway to, he had deGrom over 6.5 strikeouts. And it's funny because deGrom, his strikeout prop actually closed at 7.5, and even after we found out he had a 65 to 75 pitch restriction, he's so good I still couldn't bet the under 7.5 strikeout mark there for deGrom. But he looked dominant against the Nationals. He was throwing 102 miles per hour right out of the gate. So that was a bet that I hit on, was the under for the Nationals. And then for my bets that I lost on yesterday, which made it an overall losing day for me, I had the under strikeouts for Gausman and the under strikeouts for Chris Archer. They were both bets around plus 130. We have them as being 50-50 bets. So from a mathematical standpoint, I'm looking at it as 50% chance, at least per our projections, that it was going to be profitable splitting those two bets. And then there was a 75% chance that both of them would win, and then a 25% chance that neither of them would win. Not only did neither of them win, they turned out to be really shitty bets. Chris Archer had his best start of the season. Gausman, he had his best start of the year, nearly had a perfect game. And Archer was unhittable against the Detroit Tigers. So bad bets by me. But today's a new day, and I'm about to break down my favorite bets of the day, and I'm going to get into those right now. Just a quick note as I get into my favorite bets of the day. There's also one that I'm not including here that I have a bet on because I think that most of you guys are going to watch this after this game has already started. But I do have a bet on Jalen Beeks over 1.5 strikeouts. For a guy that's had a really high strikeout rate, around 30% since he's come into the big leagues, I think 1.5 is a really low total. He's probably only going to pitch 2 innings. But the expectation is that he's going to have well north of 1.5 strikeouts. We even projected for 2.7. So if you guys happen to watch this video just as it comes out, I think that's a pretty solid looking bet. Jalen Beeks over 1.5 strikeouts. But talking about some of the games you guys will have more time to take an action on, my first bet of the day is going to be Kyle Bradish under 5.5 strikeouts. This feels like a really big number for Bradish, and not because he doesn't generate a lot of strikeouts. He does, but he doesn't work deep into games. That really limits the amount of total strikeouts he could accumulate, even if he does have a high strikeout rate. So Bradish, his first start back coming off an extended stint on the injured list, he pitched 5 innings against the Reds, looked solid, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. But look at all of his recent starts. So there was that 5-inning outing against the Reds, but before that, 4 1/3 innings, 4 1/3 innings, 4 2/3 innings, 4 2/3 innings, 1 2/3 innings. He very rarely completes 5 innings. And that's twofold. Number one, they are just generally being cautious of them. I think that should even be more so moving forward because he had that stint on the injured list. But then also he gives up so much contact and so much hard contact that it's hard to justify leaving Kyle Bradish deep into games. He has a 7.01 ERA and a 5.32 FIP this season. So overall, he's been really poor as a pitcher. The only redeeming quality has been some of those strikeouts. But this number at 5.5 does seem really, really high to me. We only have him projected a little bit over 4 strikeouts for the day. And if you look at his numbers for the year, out of 11 starts, he's had 5 or less strikeouts in 7 of them. So under 5.5 strikeouts, this seems like a very aggressive line that's been set for Kyle Bradish. I think the fair line is probably 4.5. So at 5.5, I'm taking the under on Kyle Bradish's strikeouts. Today's show is sponsored by BetMGM. And if you guys have ever wanted to take a bet that is no chance of losing, well, BetMGM is going to give you a risk-free bet of up to $1,000 when you sign up for the first time, either using the promo code OSMLB or sign up using the link in the description box below. You just sign up following that link or using the promo code. And when you place your first bet at BetMGM, they're going to refund you with a free bet up to $1,000. It doesn't have to be $1,000, whatever you're comfortable with. It could just be $10, $50, but it could be up to $1,000, which if you're somebody who wants a risk-free bet, which why wouldn't you? You could sign up. You could bet up to $1,000 on one of the bets I like. If it loses, you get refunded. You bet another $1,000 with a free bet the next day. You get 2 shots to make some money. So it's a really good offer, really good expected value on it. Just make sure to sign up using the promo code OSMLB or using that link in the description box below, because you're going to need that to get your risk-free bet. Once again, you could get up to $1,000 in a risk-free bet from BetMGM using our sign up. For my next bet, I'm looking at a game total, and it's over 8.5 runs in the matchup between the Red Sox and the Astros. And there's a number of reasons that I like this bet. First off, in our projections, we do have this as one of the more profitable over-unders of the day. We have the over hitting with an expected ROI of 12.2%. We have the fair line for this game at about 9.5 runs as opposed to the 8.5 it's currently set at. Number one, there's 2 good offenses in this game. And I know the Boston Red Sox have struggled a little bit as of late, but they got Rafael Devers back from the injured list yesterday. That is a massive upgrade to their offense. And then on the other side of the game, it's the Houston Astros, one of the best offense in baseball. Plus, they added Trey Mancini from the Orioles at the trade deadline and then Christian Vazquez from the Red Sox. So that's a couple of big upgrades to an Astros lineup that was already pretty deep and talented. And then as for the pitchers in this game, I don't really like either of them. Jose Urquidy may have a 3.86 ERA this year, but he seems to be headed for regression in the second half of the season because he's a 4.71 expected ERA. There's a couple of things that have really held down his ERA, and it's mostly luck-driven. One, he has a 77.6% left-on base rate. That number really should be right around 70% league average, and when that happens, more of the runners get on base, should score on average against Jose Urquidy. That's going to inflate his ERA. And then in addition, he's a 273 BABIP. More of the balls put in play against him should be leading to hits than they are. So there's been some good luck going to Urquidy, and it does look like he should have an ERA more in the high 5 or more in the high 4 range, close to 5, than it being in the 3 range right now. And then Rich Hill is starting for the Boston Red Sox today, and it's also been a tough year for Rich Hill. 4.2 ERA, 4.55 expected ERA. And what can we expect from him? He's one of the oldest players in baseball. Actually, might be the oldest. I'm not exactly sure, but 42 years old. I can't imagine there's anybody that much older than him. And just the velocity decline is pretty significant at this point in his career. Never a guy who threw especially hard, but now the fastball velocity is down to about 88 miles per hour. Boston's been really cautious with how long they allow him to pitch into games. And this is his first start in a month. We have not seen Rich Hill make a start since July 1st. And that was a start he pitched 4 2/3 innings, gave up 3 runs in a fairly easy matchup against the Chicago Cubs. So we've got a really long layoff for Rich Hill, who wasn't really pitching all that well before the Red Sox sent him out of the minor leagues and he went on some rehab assignments. So I'm not super high on either of the pitchers in this game. I like both the offenses. Modest run total, 8.5. Give me the over, and I would feel good about betting the over really up to 9 runs. 9.5, like I said, is about where we have the fair line projected. So 8.5 or 9, I'd take the over on either of those. That's where I'm betting in terms of run total for today. If you guys have been watching my videos over the last month and a half, couple of months, you know that one of my favorite pitchers to fade is Lance Lynn. I very frequently bet against him. I bet the unders on his strikeout props. I take other teams first over on first runs in 5 innings against Lance Lynn. I think all of those bets are in play today. But the number one thing that stands out to me about fading Lance Lynn is going to be under 6.5 strikeouts for him. He's going up against a Royals team that it's a weakened offense. They got rid of Andrew Benintendi and Whit Merrifield at the trade deadline, but it's still a team that doesn't strike out a whole ton. And Lance Lynn has just struggled so mightily this year. All the same talking points that I've brought up on previous shows when I've faded Lance Lynn. He's older now, 35 years old, and despite winning the Cy Young last year, he had knee surgery in the offseason, came back, rehab assignments didn't go well, got his ass kicked in the minor leagues, comes back up to the big leagues, immediately starts getting hit hard, and his velocity is alarmingly down, about 1.5 miles from last year. And as a result, it's just been a struggle for him to find success. 6.42 ERA, 4.67 FIP. But also the strikeouts just generally haven't been there. He did register 8 last time out against the A's, which is a very easy matchup. But it's one of only 2 starts this year that he's had over 6 strikeouts. So the number here is 6.5. He's been under that mark in 7 out of the 9 starts he's made to this point. And it's just hard for me to trust Lance Lynn when, number one, the props for him are still generally getting set as if he's a really good pitcher, which I just don't think is the case anymore when his fastball velocity is only 92.5 miles per hour. The age, like I said, the earned run concerns where he has a 6.42 ERA, 4.61 expected ERA, that's always going to limit his ability to work deep into games. And that's why a lot of his starts, we've seen 4 or 5 innings out of Lance Lynn when in the past, he was a workhorse who would regularly throw 100, 110 pitches and work deep into games. It's hard for the White Sox to justify that when he's just struggling to get hitters out, letting a bunch of guys on base, allowing runs to score. So I'm going to continue to fade Lance Lynn. It's worked out really well this year, and that's just been an auto fade for me until the books start to adjust to his current talent level. So under 6.5 strikeouts for Lance Lynn. My final bet of the day, it's not a comfortable fade, and it's going to come from our projections and our algorithm here over at Stokastic and the numbers we have in Odd Shopper. But it's under 7.5 strikeouts for Sandy Alcantara. I know he's been ridiculously good this year. He is the prohibitive betting favorite to win the National League Cy Young, but he's not really all that much of a strikeout pitcher. Still only a 24% K rate, so not quite elite when it comes to swing and misses. He generally makes up for that by pitching really deep into games, and we've seen pretty regularly him go 7, 8 innings in a lot of starts. But I am starting to get a little bit concerned about fatigue for Alcantara in the second half of the season, because as good as he's been this year, we did see last start the wheels kind of start to fall off maybe a little bit. Pitched 5 innings against the Mets, only had 5 strikeouts, and ultimately gave up 4 runs. It was one of his weakest starts of the year, and he's now allowed multiple runs in 3 consecutive starts, which was something that really never happened to Alcantara early in the year. In fact, he had long stretches where he would have multiple shutouts in back-to-back-to-back games and stuff like 1 or less earned runs. I think actually in the first month and a half of the season, I think he had a stretch where he only had 1 start. This actually might have been 2 starts into the entire season. He might have only had 1 start where he allowed more than 2 earned runs. So now you see that he's given up more runs in recent starts and isn't going quite as deep into games. Last 2 starts, only 5 and 6 innings. I do think it's reasonable to think there could be fatigue playing an issue here. His velocity was also down a little bit in his last start, which could also play a factor. 2 starts in a row, actually, we've seen a velocity dip for him. But it's really just a really high strikeout total. Like I said, I'm relying on our projections here. The over-under for strikeouts for Alcantara, it said it's 7.5. We haven't projected for 6.3, so we have the under winning 71% of the time in our projections over at Odd Shopper. And that's really what I'm backing here. I'm trusting the numbers. I'm trusting the data. And when we have a bet that's shown to win 71% of the time, I'm going to back that and take the under with Sandy Alcantara under 7.5 strikeouts. So recap of all the bets I have for the day: Astros, Red Sox over 8.5 runs, Lance Lynn under 6.5 strikeouts, Sandy Alcantara under 7.5 strikeouts, and then Kyle Bradish under 5.5 Ks. As one bonus bet, if you guys have the time to get this in really quickly before the game starts, I do have a bet on Jalen Beeks over 1.5 strikeouts this afternoon. So those are my favorite bets for the day. Let me know in the comment section what your favorite bet is. Give yourself a chance to win a free subscription to our premium betting Discord, or just fun to build community. I like seeing what kind of bets everybody has, and it's kind of fun regardless. If we all struggle, it's kind of nice when we struggle together. I know a lot of people don't really always view it that way, but it's a nice little community aspect. And of course, it's even more fun. We're all winning our bets in the same day, which is what happened a couple of days ago, where just everybody was crushing in the comment section. So whatever bets you have, let me know below. Also, before you leave, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck today, everybody.